Hello everyone, and welcome to this special weekday Motor Trade Radio podcast, powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising, with Philip Nothard and Curtis Hutchinson, bringing you all the chatter that matters across the franchised and independent dealer sectors.
We're delighted to welcome this week's special guest, Rachel Clift, CEO of Ben, to the Motor Trade Radio podcast. Rachel's been leading the automotive sector's hard-working charity since last November after a career in the health sector with senior positions at People Plus and Ingeus, before joining Ben in 2018 as Health and Wellbeing Director. Rachel took over as CEO at a key time for the charity as it marks 120 years with a new strategic direction and a new senior leadership team. Ben's core work as the industry's dedicated charity is in support of the health and well-being of anyone who works in the automotive sector, as well as their family dependents. So welcome to the pod, Rachel. It's great to have you with us.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's great to have you on. I know we've got a lot to talk about and a lot to share on today's podcast. So we'll get going. So, I mean, great intro there, and obviously where you've come from with your background and the role that you've now got at Ben. So it might be worth just if we start off with an overview of what Ben does for the people within need in the automotive and obviously the main sources of revenue and maybe as a way of a follow-up, some of the key challenges that you have.
Sure, of course. So Ben is the automotive industry charity and we provide health and wellbeing support for life. And up until this year, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later, I'm sure, we also provided care homes and had a retirement village. But effectively, our charitable work is for anyone that works or has worked in the automotive industry, as well as their family dependents, providing a range of different health and wellbeing support. And we've been doing it for a long time. So we were founded in 1905. And of course, we hit a milestone birthday this year in July. So we turned 120. And I suppose the golden thread for Ben, and obviously benevolence is Ben is the shortened name for benevolence, is about doing good. And we've always been there when people hit hard times and are really struggling with whatever it is, whatever that challenge is, no matter how small, no matter how big. Ben has been there to sort of hold the hands and provide the sort of stability for people when they are facing challenging times with their families as well. So we're very much wanting to do more in the space of prevention and early intervention. And I think Ben will often be seen as the go-to provision for crisis when people are really struggling and really at crisis. But actually, we're there for that full spectrum of helping people to live their lives well as when things are really getting tough.
And Rachel, as I say, you started in the top role as CEO in November. And following a review which acknowledged the increased day-to-day demands on the charity and rising costs, you put in place a new strategic direction. One of the first visible signs of this was the transfer of Ben's long-standing care and retirement village, which you mentioned last year. That must have been a difficult decision to make. What prompted it, and how has that transfer gone?
Yeah, sure. So back in 2018, Ben launched their strategic plan, Fueling the Future. And at that point, there was a kind of a growing ambition to be able to make our care services and retirement village a way of actually funding the charitable work that Ben was also delivering. And over a period of time, we were having less and less people from an automotive background, specifically within our care homes. So the charitable impact we were having in our care homes was becoming significantly less. And this growing surge in demand around health and wellbeing was evident as we were raising awareness in the industry of the work that we were doing. And we'd almost started some of this transformation to becoming a health and wellbeing charity at that point. So starting to deliver health health and well-being in a sense of physical health, mental health, looking at well-being. And that was where my role sort of came in as health and well-being director. I was brought in to effectively look at how we were sort of supporting people, and very quickly brought in some sort of digital solutions, thought about how we were delivering mental health provision for counselling and talking therapists. So we've embarked upon huge amount of transformation around the delivery of health and well-being. And I suppose what that proved was that the need we had in the industry was just growing year on year. And we were seeing that in service demand. And so we had this automotive community, not necessarily as part of our care services or retirement village, growing need in the industry. And it really led us to our strategic review a couple of years ago to say, we are here for the industry and we need to meet that need. And we think there's an incredible amount of unmet health and wellbeing need in the industry. So we effectively made that decision. It was a very hard decision because there's a strong legacy around the care provision that we have provided over the years. But it was about having an asset that we could then turn to funding and then make some decisions to future-proof our charity. So we're in a situation at the moment where we have the funds of the sale of our care and retirement village, and this is now what we have, and we have to think about how we use that very wisely from an investment point of view, how we invest in different initiatives to help us to fundraise. So just because we have divested of our care and village services, our need for fundraising is even greater to help us to be sustainable in the future. I didn't answer one of your questions, Phil, which was about challenges. Well, awareness is a huge challenge for us. So it's a vast industry, lots of different subsectors and pockets of the industry. And raising awareness costs a lot of money. So we know that part of our investment needs to be in making not really just accepting the fact that if you know about Ben, you're lucky enough to know. Everyone in our industry should know that Ben exists for them. And so that's a really important visionary piece for us. So that's one area that is a challenge. And of course, like every other charity, fundraising is a challenge. And we need to be more creative and provide opportunities for the industry to be able to play their part. To help us to fundraise, to get more of our industry colleagues involved in individual giving, whether that be event participation or regular donations. So, we have an awful lot to kind of go at. But as I said, we've got this transformation piece, which is internal as an organisation, as well as external and how we're working with the industry.
And I mean, on that, that next phase of your strategic transformation, like you say, internally and externally. Do you want to talk us through some of those, those key missions are for Ben now as you move forward? Because you've gone through, let's say, a transformation already, haven't you, since November? But now you've got your next stage of that transformation that you need to implement.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, internally, we were an organisation that was a lot bigger. And so we've kind of moved from what was an organisation of over 400 people down to around 60. So we have got to then right size the organisation. We've had to reorganise and look at that kind of change process around people, what central provision we need around our sort of HR, finance, IT, technology, and our frontline services. There's not an awful lot around our service delivery that needs transformation, but it's about our ways of working. The culture that we want to have working for people to experience whilst they're working for Ben. So we've got this whole internal bit and the sort of people strategy that sits underneath us as an employer, as much as us as a charity supporting the industry. So that includes things like our processes, our procedures, our policies. So it's an awful lot of opportunity for just to build a new frame of reference, and that's quite exciting. So you can imagine being a very people-focused leader. How people experience working for Ben is really important to me. So I want for us to really think our way through that and ensure that the people that are working for us, that are supporting the industry, are also really well looked after. From a sort of external perspective, it's the transformation bit is for everyone to realise that we are different. Ben is the health and wellbeing charity that supports the industry. We are here to serve industry people. And that is on a spectrum, as I said, for proactive prevention, early intervention, as well as that kind of we're struggling, we're in crisis, providing that full remit of physical, mental health support for people, but also in that well-being space is empowering people to look after themselves, but to live their best life. And a lot of that is based around education and awareness. So there'll be more that we will be doing around that transformation over the next sort of 4 or 5 years. And we are just embarking upon building our 4-year strategic plan. So having had we've gone from an old executive team into a new senior leadership team. We are now sort of putting the meat on the bones of a strategic plan that will be our roadmap to 2030. But it's the first chapter of a vision to 2050, really, which is about the entire sort of industry looking after the health and well-being of everyone.
I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, just even to the point now, you just celebrated that 120 years of supporting the sector, and Ben as a charity has obviously seen some significant shifts in the industry over those decades, and now it's embarking, like you say, that 2030, the next stage as yourselves evolve, and obviously alongside a significantly evolving industry as well at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think is really evident is change is inevitable, and it's happening every day, and we feel it as much as the industry is feeling it. So this focus around equipping people and supporting the industry with this around managing change. So we will be talking more about that, more about building resilience, because resilience isn't just about having a stiff upper lip and just getting on with things. It's a process. It's a learning. It's an education. It's people looking after themselves. And I think sometimes it's misconstrued as, I've just got to get on with this and suck it up almost. And that isn't the case. So we're on this kind of mission to not only provide health and wellbeing support for automotive people and their family dependents, but to partner with the industry and stakeholders to build a resilient and motivated workforce. And then this kind of final layer, which is about championing and influencing positive change for industry people, but also for the industry as a whole.
Yeah, fascinating stuff, and look forward to hearing a lot more from you after this short break, Rachel.
You're listening to All the Chatter That Matters, a special weekday episode of Motor Trade Radio, powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising.
Welcome back to the Motor Trade Radio podcast. Rachel, in the first half, you outlined the next phase of Ben's transformation, and a key part of this is the new senior leadership team, which was announced earlier this summer, and you mentioned. Can you give us an update on who's actually on the leadership team now?
Sure. Yeah. So we have a couple of people that were already working for Ben with some promotions and changing of job titles. I mean, obviously, my role moving into Chief Executive was Health and Wellbeing Director before, and have had a kind of internal promotion. And that in itself has been an honour and a privilege to take on this role. So I suppose I wanted to say that because it's been a really kind of changeable 12, it's not even been 12 months. It's less than 12 months. It feels like longer than that.
It feels like it.
Yeah, it does. But I suppose trying to manage the exiting of an old senior leadership team and bringing on a new senior leadership team, I think that's been, it's almost like a bit of a chess game of trying to manage that and orchestrate that. It's been very good experience for me, actually. But we have a new director of finance who has an overwhelming amount of charitable experience and is exceptional, actually. I'm not sure that we could have found somebody any better for the role that we need him to play. So Martin Smith was appointed earlier this year. And he actually holds the role of Director of Finance and Governance. And at the moment, he's picking up some of our charitable impact areas as well. He is also going to be tasked with that whole important piece around building our investment policy and what that looks like from a reserves point of view, and of course that whole strategic picture around the next 4 or 5 years, and even looking much further than that around our financial modelling. So Martin has a wealth of experience of working in benevolent funds that have also been through similar transformation, and has a very good expertise and experience around technology, data and insights, and marketing. So all of those things are, the areas that are going to be so critical for us going forwards as part of our new strategic plan. So yeah, that's Martin. Matt Wigginton you'll be familiar with. Matt was our sort of former partnerships, engagement and income director, now holding a slightly different job title as Director of Growth and Development. And the reason for that subtle change is we really need to be thinking about sustainable models of fundraising and through multiple different income streams. Now, we have probably 90% of our funding at the moment. It comes from the industry, which is incredible. And, you can imagine we're hugely grateful for. And we still need to sustain those high levels. But the recurrence of that through different schemes and initiatives is what we need to do. So there's some strategic work that I'll be looking for Matt to be delivering on about developing these sort of ongoing recurring fundraising sort of programs where you might in a used car, for every used car that's sold, we might apply £1 to that. And you can imagine, we've got some of these schemes in place already. If we have more of these initiatives and their recurring donations, that's transformational for us in terms of our fundraising. So Matt will be working quite hard on those initiatives, as well as growing our individual fundraising. So what we're doing around individual donations, building a community of our automotive people that work in the industry and getting them more involved in events, fundraising events, and also becoming donors themselves. So these are some of the things that we'll be working on over the next few years. We have Ellen Plumer, who is our Head of Awareness and Experience. And I think, her job title tells you a little bit about what that job is there to do. Ellen is such a warm, vibrant character. She's very well loved in the industry. She speaks incredibly powerfully and passionately about the work that we do at Ben. She is, again, very passionate about everyone being aware of what we do. So her role is uniquely to raise awareness and look at engaging people on a continuous basis. We have a head of HR, Sarah Diageo, who supported some of the transformation work for us around the transfer. So there's a bit of continuity around where we've been to where we are now. Sarah will be looking at our people strategy and that whole internal transformation piece and what that people experience looks like for Ben colleagues. And over time, and this is a bit unique really, because historically we haven't done this, the likes of Martin and Sarah as HR and finance, I really want to immerse them in the industry as well. I actually want them to build peer relationships with colleagues within the industry, because that's really important that we are integrating with the industry. So that's a kind of a breakdown of the team. And we are, as I said, working hard at the moment of putting the meat on the bones of a strategic plan. We know what our sort of strategic goals are. We know we want to increase awareness to 1 in 3 people working in the industry by 2030, that we need to double our fundraised income by the same period of time, and that we want to treble our charitable impact. All of that is being worked on at the moment as a team. So it's a busy period, but an exciting one as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And from your description of each of those job titles and functions, it sounds as though there's been new elements that you've actually brought into the board. So as well as new people, there's new responsibilities.
Yeah, no, that absolutely is the case. We are at the moment, I suppose, also missing another senior role around charitable impact, and that was quite a purposeful decision at this point in time. So at a later point, we will be looking at a charitable impact role also joining the team once we have formulated that kind of strategic plan. As I said, I feel like the skill set that we've got in the team at the moment is absolutely fit for purpose, and will really help us to kind of deliver on those strategic goals.
And with this new team, that they've only been in a position in place since the beginning of the summer, around June time. So what progress have you made so far with them?
Well, like I said, we are embarking upon a bit of a journey ourselves as a new senior leadership team. So there's some sort of ways of working and understanding each other. I mean, Matt and I have worked for quite some time together since 2018. So we're very familiar with our own ways of working. Ellen has obviously been promoted into the senior leadership team. So there's an element of her sort of working with Matt and myself in a different way to how that's looked before. So we're all feeling our way around how the team is operating, what people's strengths are, how we're collaborating. But that's why it was really important that we knew what our strategic direction was as an organization. We knew what our strategic sort of goals were and broadly what our priorities would be. But for us to really pin down a strategic plan, it had to be with the new sort of senior leadership team that was in place, because they've got to get behind it. They've got to own, what we're putting in there and be vested into it. So we're making significant progress on that. We're hoping that we will be able to get that signed off and approved by our board of trustees by early next year. And of course, then we'll be launching that ready for April 2026, because our sort of financial year works from April to March. So slightly different to some of our industry partners.
No, and I must say, Rachel, I mean, I had the pleasure of joining you at your 120th anniversary event, and the dynamic of your new senior leadership team was very good. And as you say, the new fresh look, fresh sort of buzz around them, really, it was delivered extremely well on the day, and it looks like you have a great team there to start off with. So yeah, fantastic with that one.
Thank you. That's really lovely to hear, and I'm sure that they will also welcome that feedback as well.
And I mean, just thinking of the part of this new direction, and you've mentioned it throughout, partnering with employers a little bit closer, and you talk about getting some of that leadership team into this sector, into the industry, and not just the people behind the scenes actually getting to the forefront of it. But can you share what this will entail and what response you're having from the sector so far on this?
Yeah, sure. So my kind of ethos around sort of the way that we work with the industry is we need to be quite creative in how we work with different parts of the industry. So one of the things that we have done and we've spent time on during this period of time, so I think, Curtis, you asked me, well, what progress have you made? And this isn't so much with the senior leadership team, but certainly in this transition period of what is an older Ben to now is the new Ben, we felt like we needed to have a product that spoke to employers more specifically. And so we have developed a sort of Ben Life partnership, which is effectively where employers will sign up to become a Ben Life partner. It packages up everything that we do, all of the services that we provide online, through digital, through our helpline, through a 24/7 support line, a new digital self-help platform, our life coaching, case management, all of the mental health provision that we provide through counselling, talking therapies, and a lot of specialist sort of interventions as well. And to help it to speak the language of an employer. So what are the benefits of me engaging as a Ben Life partner, and what do I need to do? And we've tried to make that quite simple by saying, well, we want you to get involved. We want you to help us to raise awareness. And we also need you to support our work. And by support our work, we need you to help fund us, because we can't carry on and keep continuing to do this without the industry's support. So Ben Life is a packaged product specifically for employers, but it won't be for everyone. And it's based on a corporate donation model. And we have a lot of corporate donors. So my view on the world is, if that's not quite right for one employer, but it is for another, great. But then we have to create opportunities to collaborate with different stakeholders, different employers in different ways. So maybe working on particular health campaigns, or where we think there are significant issues with one particular area of the industry, we hone in on that. So we collaborate, we build initiatives, we have health campaigns. So I think we have to be quite creative in our partnerships and what that looks like. But like I said, we will be talking more about our Ben Life partner model specifically for employers.
And Rachel, as we head into the final quarter, and I can't believe I'm actually saying that, you'll be heavily involved in shaping this year's Ben Ball in December. And, that has over the years, really established itself as one of the highlights of the automotive calendar. What can you share with listeners about this year's event? Because I'm sort of conscious of, there's a lot of change that you and the team are bringing into the charity. Is the Ben Ball going to change and evolve?
Well, like everything, I can't deny that we are not obviously reviewing every aspect of what we do and how we do it. And our fundraising is clearly one area that we will be doing that for all the events that we run. Because the most important thing about our fundraising is that we are getting the greatest amount of return on investment. So that's a really critical sort of measure for us. And so we'll evaluate each of our fundraising events, each of our fundraising products, because for every pound that is donated, it's really important to whoever it is that's donating or funding, that they know that the large proportion of it is being spent on charitable good causes. And so, yes, we will be reviewing everything we're doing. But Ben Ball, obviously we'll be there on the 10th of December, and I suppose for almost a century it's been unofficially the sort of industry's Christmas party.
Yes.
And a lot of people do sort of say to us that they do feel that they tend to slow down and start enjoying the festive spirit when they realise that Ben Ball is just around the corner. So there'll be plenty sort of to go out in terms of the experience of Ben Ball this year. It's not a themed event like it was last year. We did a Great Gatsby theme last year, which was received really well. But we are moving back to the Golden Triangle, so we've moved the event back to Hilton on Park Lane, because just on some of the feedback that we had around Billingsgate Market, it's quite difficult to get to accommodation. Yes. So we've moved back to Park Lane. So there'll be the usual kind of great mix of food, company. There's entertainment as well. But what we do have tried to thread into Ben Ball, for certainly since I joined in 2018, is the sort of heartwarming impact and the stories of what the work we're delivering. And it is often those kind of personal and family orientated stories that you can see people really finding that quite emotive on the night. And so we do like to share quite a few of those stories on the night, and they always are received incredibly well. But obviously we'll want to show our appreciation for everyone and their support on the evening, and hopefully we will have a record-breaking fundraising night as well.
Yeah, it really is an amazing event, and you're absolutely right. It is like the Christmas party for the industry. There's a real end of term feel to it, and you do raise a lot of money, and also staying with fundraising events, because you've got another biggie coming up, the Industry Leader Challenge 2026. Now, we actually mentioned this on the pod a few weeks ago, and you're looking for 12 teams to trek across a glacier in Iceland. So tell us more about that, and whether or not anyone's signed up yet.
So I can't necessarily give away too much about who has or hasn't signed up, but no, this is quite a unique event for the next IRC. Actually, it's probably one of the most ambitious challenges that we've ever taken on, and we took a new approach with executive colleagues a few years ago when we did our Kilimanjaro trek, first up and then Sahara, where we got Matt, myself, and actually Zara, our former CEO, did Kilimanjaro as well. And the impact that has by being with industry leaders is really significant. The nature of the relationships that you build through that kind of, you're in it together, we're doing this together as a team, has been incredibly powerful for me personally, whilst I'm also trying to increase the relationships I hold across the industry. This has been really powerful for me. So IRC has got lots of different reasons why we do it, and I think that whole relationship bit is really critical for us as well. But it raises a significant amount of money, between sort of £200,000 and £300,000 each time we do it. But it kind of brings teams together across the industry So we have got people that have signed up from manufacturing, from retail, from aftermarket already. So that's really positive. And we will be making some announcements soon about the team who have signed up already. But I definitely can't preempt that today. But it is an epic adventure. I mean,
Yes.
up to 9 hours of ski trekking each day. Sort of ski trekking over 1400 above sea level, temperatures as low as minus 25 degrees overnight, and 7 nights of camping in the freezing wilderness. So, it's one, if you really would like to get involved, please just get in touch.
Yeah, I was going to say that there will be listeners out there who will be thinking, yeah, that's for me. So how do they get involved? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you at Ben?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as it stands, I would say the best way to kind of get in contact would be to go via Matt. He is sort of leading on our Industry Leader Challenge at the moment. So, but I mean, you can get in touch on our helpline on 08081 311 333, and it would get to him. You can go onto our website and go onto our fundraising, and there'll be an ILC page there as well. So our website is www.ben.org.uk. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, we would absolutely, if there's an appetite for to get involved, please do reach out. We would love to have you with us.
It's got me shaking already. I'm already thinking of putting the heating back on now. The weather's changed. So I don't know about those kind of temperatures and that kind of trekking. But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. And as Kirsty said, over the years, we've followed the CEOs that have done these extreme challenges, and then, as you say, with the more team events. So yeah, please do obviously keep us in the loop as you can talk about who's getting involved, and we'll try and make sure that we do share that. And I mean, and finally, I mean, obviously you've just talked through some of that now in terms of for the benefit of the listeners, how they can get involved with Ben, the new initiative with Ben Life, and really, I'm sure there's some excitement for some of the listeners this morning how they can, get a bit closer to Ben and involved with what you're doing. I mean, you've mentioned the telephone number there and reaching out. Are those the best ways to get in touch with Ben in general, to get involved with some of the initiatives and some of the new plans that you've got for the future of Ben?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So when we're thinking about, obviously, if you need support, so anybody, if you feel like you or someone else is struggling, our helpline is definitely the kind of immediate port of call. So the helpline number, we have an email that you can also just, if you feel like talking to somebody is too much, you can email, or you can go onto the website and you can also web chat. And that's for everything that we do, not just for if you need support. The web chat is there for if you want to find out more about fundraising, find out more about what events we've got, find out more about partnerships. But we've got a dedicated sort of partner with us page, which again is www.ben.org.uk/partner with us. So the website is a great resource to find out more information. But clearly, if you are struggling or you need help, then don't hesitate to contact our helpline. We're here, and the helpline now is available 24/7, 365 days a year. So through the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m, that is manned by Ben Helpline Advisors. Outside of those hours over the weekend and during bank holidays, it's put onto a divert 24/7 support line. So you'll have immediate support for anyone that's in distress or just struggling. And obviously we would provide follow-up support from there if further support was required. So yeah, those are the kind of key ways. But the website is the place to go where all the information about how you can get involved exists.
Fantastic. And it'd be remiss of me to not mention, obviously, with the partner with the podcast with Stephen Whitten and Menable, and I know you've been in conversations with Stephen since taking over, and trying to where we can get the industry shifting in this mental health and well-being environment. To try and, as you said right at the offset of this chat, try and the prevention side of it, rather than the back end and sorting it and helping out when they are in need, actually changing the culture towards the mental health and well-being within the automotive sector. I mean, alongside with Menable, I mean, is this where you're thinking where you can partner up with and work cohesively with other people within the sector?
Yeah, absolutely. So where the conversation has been taking me with Steve is we absolutely can't do everything. You know, our purpose, why we exist, is about the people that work in the industry. Our employers employ those people, and you know it's vast. We cannot make those cultural changes in the same way as organizations like Menable can. So we want to, as part of our mission, obviously champion and influence positive changes for industry people and for the industry as a whole. So it's really important that we're working with and we're finding ways to work with organisations like what Steve is doing and Menable to help us to do that. We can't do it all of ourselves. So again, it's about those the collaborations and working on specific initiatives, health and wellbeing campaigns. So yes, and finding sort of pockets of charitable impact projects, so things that we can fund but other organizations can deliver, and we can then demonstrate the impact. So that, I suppose, is part of the conversation that I have been having with Steve as well.
Like you say, the survey, you got 400 down to 60, if my memory serves me well, from a
exactly.
So you say it's a big industry that is changing all the time, isn't it? So like you say, it's trying to get that message across. But I mean, just to finally say, I mean, huge thank you, Rachel. I mean, I say watching the Ben in I won't say how many years I've been in the sector evolve over them years. But I mean, they say just the time since you've been in the role since November of last year, as you say, it seems a long time since you've been in that role, and as you said, it probably seems a lot longer for yourself in what you've done so far in such a short period of time. So I want to personally wish you and the leadership team and everybody else at Ben all the best, and obviously all the support where we can in the new vision and new strategic vision for Ben. And a huge thank you for coming on today and sharing this with the listeners.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a pleasure.
But that's all for now. So many thanks to Rachel for joining us on the pod, and just like to join Phil in wishing Rachel and the team all the best on this ongoing transformation of Ben. Clearly very exciting times for Ben. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next weekend, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Thank you for listening to this special weekday Motor Trade Radio podcast. Powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising. Philip and Curtis will be back with the week's big motor retailing headlines on Saturday. Live, on demand, wherever you are, on your podcast feed.